Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to review the latest episode of X-Men 97, the penultimate episode of the season. It was called Tolerance is Extinction Part 2. As it starts, in the aftermath of the massive EMP, Magneto dons his old outfit as Bastion tends to his mother's dead body, and Charles surveys the damage to the mansion before being read the riot act by Scott for his having left everything to Magneto, which Charles explains by saying that he wanted Scott and Jean to be able to walk away from the X-Men in his absence and enjoy their lives, but it doesn't cut any ice at all with Scott. Storm and Forge rescue Sunspot and Jubilee from a mob of angry humans after they apparently got free from their collars due to the EMP. Rogue wakes up to find Nightcrawler keeping vigil, at which point he has to remind her that Gambit is gone. Professor X and the team figure they have about 12 hours before the world ends when the Earth's magnetic field dies, so they strategize on how to stop Bastion and his primes, and thereby incentivize Magneto to turn the power back on. Although I wasn't sure exactly what they meant by that, because I guess he could do something with his electromagnetism to get the Earth's magnetic core back up and running and thereby not have it die and destroy the planet. And I guess make it possible for power to operate again, but it wouldn't restore any electronic device that was shut down because an EMP is not like a dampening field. It would be something that fried everything, making it impossible to run. So yeah, the Earth would still be in pretty bad shape, but at least it wouldn't be, I guess, utterly destroyed without an electromagnetic core. Anyway, as Charles and Rogue have words about Remy's death, Magneto shows up with a giant asteroid known as Asteroid M in his wake. And though Charles urges him to work with him to stop Bastion and to please turn the power back on, Magneto invokes the memory of Genosha and of that one sewer-dwelling mutant that he'd promised to save that died, and explains why he can't. He blames Charles for what's happened because Charles wouldn't do things his way. And he urges the X-Men to go with him, which Rogue does, as does Sunspot. After suiting up in classic outfits from an alternate base containing viable alien tech, some of the X-Men make an attack run on Bastion's island by air and are met with techromancy-powered Sentinels. Beast, Jean, Cable, and Morph seek to infiltrate Bastion's base on foot and also fight Sentinels, causing Morph to shapeshift into Hulk, which was pretty cool. Sinister, meanwhile, goes after Jean and pits Cable against her by controlling him, while Wolverine, Scott, Jubilee, Nightcrawler, and Charles go after Magneto. And when Jean psychically calls out to Scott to say that she loves him, seemingly one last time as she fights Cable, Scott stops Xavier from taking over Magneto's body and turning the power back on because it would reactivate the Prime Sentinels, and thus enables Magneto to put his helmet on Charles, blocking his abilities. At which point, Wolverine runs Magneto through with his claws, causing Magneto to use his abilities to rip the adamantium out of Wolverine, seemingly blowing his body to bits, just like he did in the comics at one point. That's where the episode ended, and wow, I'm not pleased that they ended it there. We don't know if Wolverine is dead or what. I mean, in the comics, he existed for a time without the adamantium. He had bone claws that came out of his hand instead of adamantium claws. So Wolverine existing without the adamantium is a thing. So it's possible he's not dead, but like, really? They had to leave it. They had to leave the cliffhanger there with only one episode left. I was not pleased about that. But otherwise, I thought this episode was really great. Once again, the animation was crazy well done. The action sequences are off the charts on this show. They just look gorgeous. And, you know, they feel like they take place in a 3D space because of how they do the animation, the way the characters move when they're, you know, fighting and stuff. It just looks like a 3D space and it's crazy. I also thought that the writing did a really good job of making the motivations of the characters and the concerns of the characters feel real. Like there was a heaviness to everything and the stakes seemed real. And it was just very, you know, once again, emotional and thought-provoking, which, you know, a good story will be. So I have to hand it to them on, you know, the writing. It just really makes you feel that these people are real and, you know, that they're really feeling what you'd expect him to be feeling. And they didn't always do that in every episode. Like in some of the episodes, I've said that the emoting that the characters did seemed melodramatic and kind of soap opera like, but that was not true in this episode. Everything seemed real. You really feel that Eric is pained by the way things are, and not just that he's crazy and or evil and self-motivated. You really get the feeling that he hates the way his kind are treated and really hates some of the loss that has occurred and really mourns the losses that he's had. And it just, you can really feel that it's palpable, and I think that's great. At the same time, you can feel that Rogue is very saddened by the loss of Gambit. And you can understand how Charles feels as well, that he's desperate to save both humans and mutants because he believes wholeheartedly that they can live in harmony, even though so far it seems like no. But I just thought it was very well done. I think that this show rises above the level of a cartoon. It's really just good stuff, and I can't wait to see next week's episode. I want next week's episode now. But I'm curious as to how they're going to resolve all this. The devastation is just insane that's gone on. Genosha being gone and everybody there being wiped out, Gambit being killed, now Wolverine possibly being killed, and if not killed, left, very disabled in terms of his, abilities and whatnot, which he depends on to survive, really. And I don't see how they can make any of this right in one episode, unless they do like a Deus Ex Machina time travel thing, which I don't think they're going to do. But wow, I kind of want them to do that, even though generally I'm not a fan of Deus Ex Machina. I want Gambit back. I want Wolverine to have his adamantium. I want him not to be dead. So I'd like to see Genosha come back. Like, all those people were killed, and that's awful. So what are they going to do? Are they going to fix these things? Are they not going to fix these things? I can't see them having a season 2 without Wolverine. And I don't think they're going to do a season 2 with a Wolverine that doesn't have his adamantium, although again, he did exist in the comics that way for a while. So I just want to know what's next, and I want to know everything. Oh, anyway, really good episode. Can't wait for next week. Before I go though, the one thing I want to note is the conversation between Scott and Cable before they make their move to go after Bastion. When Scott gives Cable like a new outfit to put on, he makes a crack about, how it's a little silly or a little goofy. And Scott says, "What would you prefer, black leather?" And that's super funny because it's a throwback to a sequence in the original X-Men film when Wolverine says something to Scott or just to the team out loud about how they're all wearing these black leather uniforms.
You actually go outside in these things? What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
Which was a crack at the time on what Wolverine wears in the comics. So I just thought it was very funny that they put that line in there as a throwback to that. But yeah, wanted to just talk about that because it was funny. I'm going to get out of here for now, but I will be back, of course, to do a breakdown and review of the season finale once it's released. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.